You do proper security analysis and investigations that you get to know, is it forces, is it civilians, and so forth. It is also it's also important to note that such security issues are handled in as security issues. So if we reach a stage where there is any challenge, we will tell the country. But at the moment, we don't have any.
Right, at the same time, Nandi Senator Samson Cherargei has raised concerns over the alleged presence of Jubaland forces in Mandera, describing it as a national security threat that must be addressed by the government. Speaking on the matter, Senator Cherargei warned that the stationing of forces from the semi-autonomous region of Jubaland poses risks to Kenya's national security, borders, and sovereignty. According to the senator, the forces have been stationed in Mandera County after being overpowered by Somalia government troops, prompting complaints from the county leadership about the potential violations. Cherargei urged the government to take immediate action to safeguard Kenya's territorial integrity and ensure that foreign military presence does not compromise the national security.
Those foreign troops that have violated the integrity and boundary of Kenya in Mandera, they are now fugitives of war. They must be arrested and they must be court-martialed for violating the territorial integrity of this Republic of Kenya. And we hope and we want to pray for the people of Mandera. Personally, I've been to Mandera before. I know how close it is with the border. I want to challenge the security agencies, the necessary KDF forces, to ensure that let us not allow the violation of our territorial integrity.
Now, police in Mirangini, Nyandarua County have arrested 2 suspects linked to the brutal murder of 17-year-old Samson Kahuria from Ramana village. Kahuria's family reported that he died after being tortured inside a house in Gwakiongo Township last Friday, where he had been accused of stealing 2 pairs of trousers. According to the family, the teenager was stripped naked and forced to walk through a thicket of stinging nettles before being discovered and rushed to JM Karaoke Hospital in Olkalau, where he later succumbed to his injuries. Earlier, yesterday, residents staged a peaceful protest demanding further arrest and justice for the deceased. Police have have assured that investigations into the incident are ongoing.
Ninataka haki ya mtoto wangu. Mtoto wangu hana makosa hata kidogo. Hiyo kijana yangu ni kijana, najua kufanya kazi yake, kazi mzuri. Ni kijana mzuri sana. Anafanyaga kazi yake na hakuna siku hata mmoja nisikia ate kijana yangu ameiba mahali ama amepigana na mtu. Ni kijana mtulivu.
Wamepoteza mtoto wa miaka 17. Mtoto wa miaka 17 ni mtoto ako bado kwa himaya ya wazazi. But kumeonekana kuwa ati hapa kwetu wa Kiongo kuna vikundi ambazo zenye zina mamlaka ya kuchukua sheria mikononi na kuhukumu na kusema ati mwenye ako na makosa anaweza uawa na wazazi wasifanye kitu.
Mpaka kwenye tumefikisha watu wawili wameshikwa na bado tunaendelea. Na mimi najua kwa maombi yenu, kwa maombi yetu, Mungu atatujalia mpaka dakika ya mwisho haki itatendeka. Mimi naongea na nyinyi kama askari, mimi naongea na nyinyi kama mzazi. Hata mimi niko na mtoto ya hiyo miaka. Na ile uchungu yenye mko naye, hata mimi niko hapa ni mtoto.
Right, moving on to some other sad story. A first-year student at Kenya Medical Training College, that is KMTC Busia campus, has died under suspicious circumstances after reportedly hanging himself in his dormitory. Neighbors in Mauko Estate, Busia town, said the student was discovered hanging from the roof of his room, prompting shock and concern among the residents. Authorities have urged young people to experiencing emotional or mental distress to seek help and openly communicate their struggles. The student's body has been taken to Busia County Hospital mortuary for post-mortem examination, while investigations continue to determine the exact cause of death.
I've just witnessed a very sad incident. We've lost a student. We were observing the bodies.
Nimeenda kununua vitu, kurudi napigiwa simu huyu amekufa. Mimi nikiangalia ametumia tu kamba na kajinyonga. So, mimi naomba wananchi, ukikuwa na shida ya mawazo ni mzuri ushare, utangaze hata watu wakijua shida zako, lakini ukiambia kila mtu kuna wenye watakuwa advice.
Wanakufa kwa sababu ya mapenzi. Kwa sababu unapata pengine kijana amependa msichana, amefika mahali msichana amemfanyia disappointment, ameona njia moja ya kutoka kwa kitu kama hiyo ni mambo ya kifo.
Right, moving on to the corridors of justice, a university student accused of cyber fraud has been released on bond after the prosecution failed to justify his continued detention. Said Okwanyo, a student facing cybercrime charges, also known as the granted a bond of 500,000 Kenya shillings by Nairobi Magistrate Mark Ekubi. In its ruling, Magistrate Ekubi cautioned Okwanyo against interfering with ongoing investigations, stressing that any breach of the directive could result to the cancellation of his bond. Additionally, the court ordered Okwanyo to report weekly to the investigating officers as part of the conditions for his release.
To having the suspect respondent be detained for a period of 20 days. So I've also considered the grounds as stated in the application. So having considered the same, I find that the application that is not merited in terms of denying the respondent his liberty. I find that as stated and as does the IU, it is evident that the suspect or respondent has no control of what the IO elucidated as part of his investigations. So I hereby not allow that application. So I'll admit the suspect respondent to a bond of Kenya shillings 1 million with a surety of a similar amount. Alternatively, a cash bail of 500,000 conditional upon him availing three contact persons. Do appear before the IO on a date that we agree after I deliver this ruling and time on a weekly basis, once a week. So he'll appear before the IO weekly, once a week, and I believe the IO is present.
All right, still in the corridors of justice, the judiciary, in collaboration with the prisons department, has launched a nationwide initiative aimed at reducing congestion in correctional facilities. Chief Justice Martha Koome announced that the program during a visit to Garissa prison, outlining that the move will focus on reviewing sentences and, where appropriate, releasing individuals convicted of petty and minor offences to serve community service instead. Now, the initiative will also involve the review of bail and bond terms for unconvicted prisons, and ensuring that those awaiting trial are not unnecessarily held in custody. Additionally, judges of the High Court will continuously review sentences to help maintain a sustainable prison population. Justice Koome emphasized that the initiative seeks to uphold justice while addressing the challenges of overcrowding, which has long strained resources in the prison system.
That's why more focus for the prison officers should be on designing programs for the convicts, not for remands who are utilizing a lot of resources by just being inside the prisoners. So therefore, your leadership, we have a lot of challenges, the overcrowding that also hinders designing the rehabilitation program, electronic infrastructure to facilitate the virtual courts, which has really assisted because we do not have to take each and every one to court, because it has cut on budgets. Therefore, your leadership, if we could be able to fast track the hearing of remand cases to ease the overcrowding and promote humane conditions, then we would really appreciate.
I believe these 18 who are going to work with the county government of Garissa under the supervision of our probation and other government agencies, their life will not end at finishing those 4 months, 3 months, or 6 months. It will be continuous, and they will find something to do within the county of Garissa on a permanent basis. It is due to this that the judiciary, also in collaboration with the prison services and correctional services, is currently undertaking anti-congestion exercise in all prisons in the country in our efforts to ensure that our criminal justice system upholds the principles of justice, humanity, and rehabilitation.
Right, now let's talk matters healthcare. The Mombasa County Health Department has launched a vaccination campaign targeting long-distance truck drivers and sex workers to curb the spread of the Mpox virus. Health officials have urged stakeholders to cooperate fully to ensure the success of the initiative. Speaking during the conclusion of a stakeholders workshop, Deputy Commissioner for the Changamwe area, Kipkoech Labat, assured the public that the vaccine is safe for use. According to the County Health Department, Mombasa has received 5,000 doses of the Mpox vaccine out of 10,000 delivered to Kenya. Now the doses will be administered over a 10-day period which commenced yesterday.
The health workers will do their work, but they will not do it alone. They need our help. We as a team from both national and county government, we have to work seamlessly if we are to achieve our objective of reducing the impact of Mpox. You've heard that we've lost 2 lives already in Mombasa, and the lives of others are at risk. So let's go out there. My urge to all my team, please let's pass the word that the vaccine is safe, because that is what most people fear, and that is what those people who are out to spoil everything will use. The vaccine is not safe.
All right, still matters healthcare. Health Cabinet Secretary Edin Duale has announced that the government is in the process of settling outstanding debts owed to St. Mary's Mumias Mission Hospital, with the plans underway to reopen the facility. Speaking alongside Bishop Joseph Obai of the Catholic Diocese of Kakamega, Duale confirmed that the government had accumulated debts with the hospital through the former National Health Insurance Fund, that is NHIF, and other sources. He stated that the National Treasury has already cleared part of the arrears and is working to settle the remaining balance to ensure the hospital resumes operations. St. Mary's Mumias, one of the oldest mission hospitals in Kenya, has been a crucial healthcare provider for the region, but was forced to scale down operations due to financial challenges.
Of the claims have still to be verified. So it means that we have to continue engaging with SHA, but I can confirm that we have had on the money. The genesis of the strike of the workers came because of the accruing arrears from NHIF, which is about 143 million. But now we are talking about what has been dispersed by SHA. And I can confirm that each month SHA has always dispersed its money, and the pending claims is what we have negotiated, and we have agreed that once other documentations are submitted, then we believe in the coming 1 week, we may receive about 14 million, and that is able to help us to be able to engage the workers to return to work so that the people can be served.
And we are paying him before next week, before 14th. In fact, we start paying him on Friday, his balance, and 14th, when the circle is being paid, money amounting to 14.3 million. The other balance, we have shown him how we are going to verify with him. So, St. Mary Hospital, from where we sit, has not been closed by SHA. has not been closed by the regulator, Kenya Medical Practitioners and Dentists Council. Their license is valid, has not been closed by the Digital Health Agency that controls the system.
Right, moving on, residents of Kerio Valley have been called upon to unite in strengthening the ongoing peace initiatives in the region as government operations continue to curb criminal activities. Community members report that despite security challenges, they are maintaining the economic and agricultural activities. They highlighted that the area has significant potential for food production, provided peace and stability are sustained. Government officials have stepped up engagement with local communities, holding regular meetings to ensure residents are actively involved in the efforts to maintain security and promote social harmony. Authorities stress that collaboration between the public and the government is key to sustaining lasting peace in Kerio Valley.
Kwa hivyo tunataka wao wenyewe watengamane, wakubaliane ili mambo ambayo tutatokeza nayo hapa siku ya leo wenyewe itakuwa imetoka kwa wao, na wakiweza kutupatia shirika letu la NSC pamoja na serikali itaweza kuyachukua ili yaende kuyaangazia na watafute ni njia gani, kama ni hali ya mali ya pesa ama mikutano watasaidiaje ili yale ambayo wameweza kuangazia yaweze kuendelea kwa minajili ya usalama.
All right, it is exactly 24 minutes past the top of the hour. That's not, we're taking a short breather here on Morning Live. But when we come back, we'll tell you what exactly the dailies today are saying. All right, welcome back. You're watching Morning Live. My name is Martin Masharia. Let's take a look on the dailies today. I'm having the Star newspaper, the Daily Nation, and of course, the Standard newspaper dated today, the 4th day of September 2025. Now let's kickstart with the Star. I'll tell you what exactly the Star is saying. And top story on the Star newspaper this particular morning, state spends 17.2 million Kenya shillings daily on tea and mandazi. Right, let's take a look at that particular story on page 4 and 5 of the Star newspaper. Now, a report from the Control of Budget has revealed that government agencies spent 6.3 billion Kenya shillings on hospitality items, mainly tea and mandazis, during the financial year ending June 30th, 2025. This was despite directives by President William Ruto for fiscal austerity and radical cost cutting, the difficult economic situation that has persisted since the COVID-19 era. Now, this means the government has been spending 17.2 million Kenya shillings daily on refreshments and entertainment. The huge expenditure shows there has only been a marginal decline in the hospitality spend despite Ruto's tough talk on austerity. Now, last year, the government spent 7.6 billion on hospitality. State House recorded the highest hospitality expenditure of 1.15 billion, translating to 3 million daily, followed by the judiciary, 514.65 million Kenya shillings, about 1.5 million daily. State House plays host to high-level diplomatic engagements, political gatherings, and has a stream of visitors owing to the nature of President's responsibility. Now, the State Department, International Security and National Administration, according to the report of Control of Budget, Margaret Nyakango, was the third highest with 490.98 million Kenya shillings, about 1.3 million daily. Right? I don't know what's your take on that. State House, spending roughly 3 million Kenya shillings daily on hospitality, of course, which the Star terms as tea and mandazis, right? Do tell us what are your thoughts through SMS line to 3059, and of course through our Facebook page, EBN TV Kenya. All right, moving on, disquiet as city MCAs protest Ruto and Raila deal Sakaja. That's a story on page 6 of the Star newspapers. And on Tuesday, President William Ruto and ODM leader Raila Odinga convinced the ward reps to hold off the impeachment motion against the first-term county boss. Yesterday, Ruto was scheduled to meet Kenya Kwanza leaders for the second day in a row in an attempt to secure a lasting truce between the governor and the assembly. Now, but even as the MCAs compiled with the directive to shelve the motion, murmurs of dissent spread through the assembly, with some quietly protesting what they described as interference from political heavyweights. Now, Kileleshwa MCA, that is Robert Alai, a key prominent proponent of the impeachment, said the matter is still on the table and had only been paused after intervention by party leaders. And of course, you will remember that on Tuesday, the MCAs, or George Aladwa, said that they have had talks with, the Nairobi boss, that is Johnson Sakaja, and of course, their ODM party leader, that is Raila Odinga, and they have given, according to George Aladwa, said that they had given, that is Johnson Sakaja, a 1 month period, to think about his administration. Of course, that's a wait and see situation right there, even as the impeachment comes to a halt right now. All right, moving on towards making headlines in the Star. Leaders raise alarm as Jubaland forces invade Mandera. That's a story on page 7 of the Star newspaper, dated today, the 4th day of September 2025. Right, let's take a look on what's making headlines in the Daily Nation newspaper, dated today. And top story on the Daily Nation: puzzle of 123,000 are missing grade 9 students. Now, thousands of learners who sat for their grade 6 exam 3 years ago will not participate in next month's assessment to determine senior school admission. Questions are now being asked what happened to the group. Right, now education ministers defend 100% transition policy. That's a story, of course, on the Daily Nation. Moving on, other matters: accounting operations stall over tenders fight with a state. Now, officials say the electronic procurement system hitches have blocked purchase of essential supplies, with crucial services grinding to a halt. Of course, that's a story on page 4 and 5. And you'll remember this particular week, of course, on Monday, the head of state, alongside, Eden Duale, and of course, many other, government officials lauded the move for the e-procurement, saying that counties should adopt the e-system, to curb corruption. But on the other hand, Council of Governors, led by our GM member, our other governor, that is Ahmed Abdullahi, says that the e-procurement, has hitches, and they vowed, the government to recheck. Of course, they said they refute, using the e-procurement, that is the e-system. Now, let's take a look on what's making headlines on that. Now, e-procurement system hitches. Now, Rachel, not a real name, a procurement officer at the construction equipment supplier in Nairobi, has in recent weeks been struggling to register in the company in the government new procurement system, electronic government procurement, that is EGP, unsuccessfully. When she started the process, she went through the stages of recording the firm's details, including its name, official email address, and information about its beneficial owner. Now, the registration process, however, stalled at the stage of recording business details such as company's tax category, registration number, and procurement category after the system failed to verify the firm's tax PIN. Her inability to register the company on EGP has left it unable to supply heavy construction equipment as it has done for years. Now, the company relies on government tenders for about half of its revenue. All right, and I don't know what's your take on, the counties adopting the e-procurement system. Of course, the head of state and other government officials allied to the head of state says that the e-procurement, will, curb corruption in the country. What's your take on that? Right? Treasury PS Chris Kipto also weighed in the matter, saying the electronic government procurement, the EGP system, is transforming public procurement by enhancing transparency, efficiency, and accountability. Right? Moving on to other matters making headlines in the Daily Nation newspaper this particular morning. There is a huge and worrying number of these children at home with their parents. Have they dropped out? We need answers. Why is nobody explaining such a big gap? That is words of Silas Obuhatsa, National Parents Association chairperson. Now the transition variances, 2022 grade 6, that is 1.2 million students, 2025 grade 9. There's a transition of 1.1 million students, a variance of 122,878, that is 10%. 2021 KCPE, there is amounted to 1.2 million students. 2025 KCSC, 996 and 78. That is students, and variance of course 217,953, that is 18%. Of course, the data is from NEC. Right, now let's take a look on what's making headlines on the Standard newspaper dated today. Now, top story on the Standard says selfish union. Now, in the name of broad-based government, President William Ruto and Raila Odinga sealed a pact that blurred the opposition into irrelevance. What was meant to be a counterweight to executive fiat has morphed into an alliance of silences dissent and shields scandals. Raila, once a symbol of accountability, now plays cheerleader of President Ruto's excesses in a deal that smacks of opportunism. Kenyans have been left with government without restraint. Of course, there's a story on page 6, and there is a picture there of Raila Odinga, that is ODM party leader, and the head of state, that is President William Ruto, and who also doubles up as the UDA flag bearer and party leader. Now, Wiper leader, that is Kalonzo Musyoka, says, and I quote, "There is something fundamentally wrong with the state under the existing regime. Scandal after scandal and attempts to sell off Kenya's crucial infrastructure on cheap are the modus operandi of this disgraced regime." Those are the words of Wiper party leader Kalonzo Musyoka. Let's take a look at that particular story on page 6 of the Standard newspaper dated today. Now, the move by President William Ruto and former Prime Minister Raila Odinga to save Nairobi Governor Johnson Sakaja once again exposed the shrinking space of dissent, or rather for dissent. Now, almost a decree, the leading political the politicals decide a course of action, imposing the resolution on their allies. Now, the situation favors Dr. Ruto, who could do with some peace and quiet as he steers his government. Now, in Raila, the head of state has earned a defender who vouches for the Kenya Kwanza administration policies. Some controversial, Ruto also has the silence of a man whose noise on state has been too loud to ignore by the various administrations. Now, since the pair partnered in July 2024 in the wake of the youth-led protest over proposed tax hikes, Ruto has faced virtually no resistance from the former premier, conditions previously enjoyed by former President Uhuru Kenyatta after his handshake with Raila in March 2018. Now, although not mandated by the law, or rather by any law, to provide any checks for the former Prime Minister, did his job in gusto during Uhuru's first term in office and in Ruto's early days as president. Now, indeed, he folded the former president over a controversial 2024 $2 billion Eurobond. Right? That's a story on page 6 of the Standard newspaper, Matters Politics. Moving on to other matters making headlines, of course, this particular week. Now, we have given our sovereignty leaders to tell on foreign troops. Of course, you'll remember residents of Mandera County says that Jubaland forces from Somali has, set camps in the county. And Mandera Senator Ali Roba says, and I quote, if the government fails to act immediately and decisively to remove Jubaland forces from Mandera County, we will be forced to mobilize ourselves to defend our people, an outcome that will endanger peace and cause grave internal embarrassment. Of course, political leaders have been vocal about this particular situation. And of course, the Interior CS, that is Onesmus Kipchumba Murkomen, yesterday says that, the security forces are up in arms, to safeguard security, of course, to restore security in Mandera County. Now, the uproar over the presence of Jubaland forces in Kenya continued with political leaders criticizing the government's slow response. Now, President William Ruto, Defense Cabinet Secretary Soipan Tuya, and the Kenya Defense Forces have been challenged to take action following the confirmation of foreign fighters and had crossed the border into Kenya. Now, even as Interior Cabinet Secretary Kipchumba Murkomen said, the government cannot confirm now whether they are war forces and who they are. Leaders demanded answers. Now, Senator Ali Roba yesterday took to his social media accounts confirming Mandera town had been overtaken by foreign troops. And of course, leaders continue to throw their weight in that particular matter. It's a worrying matter, of course. It's quite unfortunate that, Jubaland forces have come in the country. And of course, that poses a serious, national security risks. Now let's take a look on matters of sports, just to know what's happening in the world of sports and why Gambia is worrying for Kenya ahead of the Kasarani showdown. Now, Gambia head coach, that is Jonah McKinstry, had admitted that his side faces a tough challenge when they meet Harambee Stars at Kasarani Stadium tomorrow at 4 p.m. Despite Kenya's slim chances of qualifying for the 2026 FIFA World Cup. Now, Kenya will host the Scorpions in the return leg after staging a remarkable 3-3 comeback in Abidjan, Ivory Coast, against the same opponents in March. Now, that thrilling draw has left McKinstry convinced that Kenya, buoyed by their fans and their new fighting spirit under coach Benny McCarthy, are not a side of an underestimate. Right, of course, Harambee Stars, that is the national team, of course, will face off Gambia's team tomorrow in Kasarani at 4 p.m., for the World Cup qualifiers. Of course, all the best to, Team Kenya, even as they gear up for the match. Right, it is exactly 43 minutes past the top of the hour. That note, we wrap up the newspaper review this particular morning. But when you come back in the other side of, the break, we're going to take a look or discuss matters. We have an expert, hypertension and diabetes mellitus expert, who wants, to give you insights to educate you about a healthier you. Don't go too far.